Thank you, Doc, and peace and blessings to everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I'm gonna go ahead and start off. Wife, we just had a granddaughter, Shanara. She was born Saturday at 7 a.m. So thank you. Wife is working with our daughter to get the baby squared away. So you'll hear the little crying in the background. But this journey, as Doc said, it was full of faith, 1,000%. You know, what happened. Um, Me and Doc been on the air on radio, Blog Talk Radio for years, and as he was teaching, I was always writing the stuff down, making notes, right? Because in my mind, my thing was that we have to produce a new reality in order for our people to be successful. So once I figured I got enough notes, I got enough of the floor plan and everything. So now it's time to go out and build. So I was doing a YouTube video every morning on my ride to work. Um, and then so one day I was like, well, I was talking on relationships, and I said, well, I'm a single man. And at that time, our YouTube had like 4,000 followers. So every morning, I was teaching to like 1,000 people. The majority of them were women, and the majority of people in the organization was women. And so I understood that I definitely got to be married. Um, B, being able to look at other men who fell victim to, whatever you want to call it, being a man, or, your desire to this, your desire to that. I knew I didn't want to fall into that category. And so a lot of that was working on myself and trying to get myself where I needed to be. And so when I figured that I was where I needed to be, then I made the announcement that, I was looking to be married. Um, and I had talked to one girl over the telephone, and I had plans to go meet with her in North Carolina. And so we talked, and I went to North Carolina. We met, went to dinner, no problem. Um, at the end of the dinner, we went back to the room. We just talked. So she asked me, did I feel as though she would, make a good wife? So I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. I don't have anything negative. Um, it explained a lot about my work and what I'm into. And she, of course, was, yeah, I'm into that. I'm into that. And she was very a fiery type person. But then one day, because she was the person that would always conduct the interviews for people coming into the organization. And so for this one day, when my wife sent in her application, she refused to do the interview. And she was like, I'm not going to do this interview. You're going to have to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. Didn't understand why she refused to do the interview, but I did the interview. We talked during email, set up the interview, and we had it. And of course, she passed the interview. And one day after I was getting off from work, it was like, I always call it the voice of God, told me to just call her up and tell her some of the things that I'm dealing with, some of the problems that I'm dealing with, and see what she said. So, I called her up and start telling her about a particular issue. Well, before I even got into the particular issue, we were talking about background. And, I told her that I was in the Army, and I was in supply, and then I went over to finance and accounting. And she explained that she was retired Air Force. She started in supply, and then she went over to finance and accounting. And I was like, well, wow, that's very interesting. We both, the same jobs in the military. And continue the conversation. And then I talked to her about the issues that I was calling about. And she gave me good counsel on it. Um, and that was the first night that we talked. And then I think I called her back a second night. Um, did I call you back a second night? Can y'all hear her? They can't hear you. They can't hear you. Okay. So we talked on the phone about two or three times. And so one time on the conversation when we were just talking, and I had called up uh, another YouTube personality, the Radical Sister, so that she could speak to her. And she was all wife was very, very happy to be able to speak to her. Then it was like, okay, where you live at? And she told me where she lived, and I was like, well, I'm supposed to be somewhere on the 18th, but I'm gonna cancel that out, and I'm gonna come see you. And I think the next day that we talked, I was like, well, when I come see you, if everything work out, then we're gonna get married. We're going to go ahead and get married. And I think we discussed the date. And I think it was like December 19th or 17th or something like that we worked out. And so that was in November 25th. And so I went up to Chicago, to Illinois. What was this? About 2 weeks after the interview. So about 2 weeks after the interview, I went to Illinois to where she was, and we saw each other for the very first time in physical being, and it was an automatic, attraction type thing. Like you feel like you're home, and I didn't know, but she had told me later that she was watching me. I was being interviewed. I was on another person's platform, on Lisa Cabrera's platform. Huh? And she heard my voice. She didn't know who I was, but she said that something told her, husband. That's what she heard in her ear, husband. So Lisa Cabrera was telling everybody to go and follow my channel, and subscribe. And so she went and did that. And she didn't immediately start tuning in. But one day on my morning drive to work, she tuned in and heard the message. And she heard me was saying that we're taking applications because we're going to, move to Mississippi and take over a city and do these type things. So, she was ready to join up to be a part of that, because she's never heard nobody actually say, we're putting boots on the ground. This is what we're going to do. So come on and join and let's go. So we got together, and on that day, I was supposed to be in Buffalo, New York, because the girl that I had met in North Carolina, I was supposed to have been going home with her to meet her family so she and I can get married. So what I wound up doing, because I looked at it as, regular courtship, you didn't lose your dignity, I didn't lose mine. We never had sex. We did have a verbal agreement, but I had to break it. I had to break it. Yes, I did, Doc. I did, and it was hard to do because her feelings were hurt. Her feelings were hurt, and I can understand that. But my main thing was, look, we did have an agreement, but you come out of this still with everything intact, because we never kissed, we never hugged, we never did any of that type of thing. So, you who you are is still intact. Yeah, no, I did talk to Angela about it prior to us actually getting married. And because my thing was, look, I've been upright this whole thing, and character is very important. So I knew I couldn't do something that's going to damage my character. And I didn't want to do anything to damage her character. So when I talked to wife about it and let her know, hey, look, prior to you and me, this is the arrangement that I had made. And, her thing was, well, go ahead and stick with it. That's the arrangement that you made. And I was like, no, I'm not. This is where I'm supposed to be. I said, when I look at all the signs, everything just really falls right in place. So I'm going to go ahead and continue following that, because when I do what I know God wants me to do, I never have an issue. It's always, on point. So I'm going to continue this route. And so, like I said, I broke it off with the other young lady. And she was very upset, hurt. Um, and I did apologize, but me and wife went ahead and got married. And it was not it was a big change. It was a big change because she didn't really know me and I didn't really know her, but we took a leap of faith together to say, this is what we're going to do. And, kind of like, I don't know if y'all watched the show 90 Day Fiance, but, it's really amazing, because like I tell her, this is the only time that I've ever been in a relationship with a woman that really I did not pick. All of my other picks failed. Every last one of them failed. So on this one, following the instincts of the Most High was a whole lot easier, even though it was a little scarier because we didn't have that time to really get to know one another before we made that leap. And, after the leap was made, and I figured, the first 3 years would be the most hardest years in a marriage. So if we can maintain through those first 3 years, that everything would, it would work itself out and everything would be good. And I knew my commitment. In prior relationships, what I didn't understand that when I said I do, I didn't understand that I was also saying I do to the God as well. I thought that, I'm just talking to you, it didn't have nothing to do with the connection to the God. And then, being by myself and getting more into my studies and trying to get things right, I understood marriage from a whole different point of view, a different perspective. So this time going in with a totally different perspective, understanding my duty to her and understanding what she is to me definitely makes things a whole lot different. As soon as she get in, she can definitely add her piece to it. But it was, and it still is. It still is. We've been married for 2 years now, and things are beginning to settle. Things are beginning to settle in our perspective roles. Because one thing, she's been, prior to me, she's been, by herself for a long time. So having to, now have somebody that, you're accountable to and somebody's accountable to you takes a lot of different turns and different shapes. But that's a process that we're continually to work on to make sure that we get it better. And while she's getting herself together, if y'all want to ask some questions or whatever, please feel free, and I'll answer them while she's still getting herself together.
My question is this. Okay. So your faith is in God bringing you the right person.
Yes,
That's where you, so you really didn't need to know much about them outside of one or two conversations.
exactly. Hmm. Yeah. And the thing with her, when we had these conversations, we've got so much in common. I mean, so much in common that really just blew my mind, that we did. And then, even knowing that and sitting back and looking at it, to me, it was more of a, yeah, this definitely is the right move to make. Hmm. Definitely. Even with her being, because she's older than I am, um, but still a lot of those similarities. And, we talked about, well, what if we would have met earlier on? And I told her, well, I don't think it would have worked earlier on, because earlier on, I wasn't who I am now. I was still that no good nigga back then, so it wouldn't have worked. I wasn't ready yet.
One thing that, and I've been excited for your story and you sharing and meeting your wife for several weeks. So I'm really, really happy to hear all that you have to share. One thing that you said that really resonated with me was when you had to break off one situation that you had committed yourself to because you just knew within you that that was where you were supposed to be. But then still, it was so important to you for your character, for the character of your future wife and for the foundation of your relationship to be very forthright with the other person. And that's just so powerful. I think one of the hardest things to do sometimes is to one, say, this isn't for me and I have to go. And then as the person on the receiving end to accept and understand that, sometimes love and what we feel doesn't have a lot to do with it. If it's not what it's meant to be, where can you go? And sometimes I do believe, I think that's just beautiful. And I look forward to that sometimes you meet someone and it's just like, I know that somehow, through the ages, we were destined to be together. So I'm gonna stop.
Most definitely. That's definitely.
I'm like, family, thank you. I'm on granny grand duty, so I apologize for being tardy. Just trying to get the grandbaby fed and her mom situated. This is our first. Um, I was listening to what husband was sharing, with everyone about how we met and how I say how the stars aligned, and here we are. So I'm not gonna say it's been easy, but it's been a learning experience, and I would do it again. I have no regrets. I would do it again. Um, any questions for me?
I'm gonna ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you heard, in your spirit, that is my husband,
Hmm.
how difficult was it for you to honor what you heard and honor what you felt and honor what you knew and tell him that and move forward on that path?
What's your name? Danny, Dan,
Danny.
Danny. To be honest, it was very hard because we know I'm what they call it, a Black independent woman, right? And I'm doing everything for myself and doing just being who I am. So when I heard it, I was like, he's probably already married. I was like, I'm going crazy, whatever. And I didn't immediately um, listen. So I just kept listening to the interview, and I didn't go and immediately subscribe to his channel. It was a couple of days later I subscribed to his channel, and then even in that, the notifications would pop up, and I still wouldn't go and listen to what he had to say. It was maybe about 2 weeks later when I started, joining into his lives. And even in that, I was still just focused on, I'd already had in my mind that I wanted to leave Illinois and go find some land and, basically do what B1, you know, what our mandate is. So I'd already had that in my mind. Now Mississippi wasn't on the list. For me, I was going to go to like Alabama, somewhere like that. It's going to be the South, but not Mississippi. So when I learned of the Mississippi Mission Initiative, I was like, okay, let me do this, because it wasn't about just talk. They just wasn't on YouTube talking. They was actually doing something to help our people. And I was more attracted to that initially versus, you know, husband. The attraction to him came later after I finally got the interview. Did you share the interview? How after the interview, as we talked, and I just felt so comfortable. I wasn't looking for a boyfriend much as a husband, to be honest. I really wasn't. I was just looking for a way to help my people, you know, a way to help us get out of what we're in and thrive and just, you know, move forward with what we need to do as the people. That's what my focus was. I wasn't looking for romanticism. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to be a catalyst to do my part to help our people. That's what I wanted. And the rest of it came, the rest of the blessings came. So I hope I answered your question.
You know, one thing that I was definitely aware of is not wanting to fall into any type of pit holes or anything and have, you know, women trouble. You know, you don't want to be in a situation where, oh, you've been with that woman, right? And so I remember one day telling Brother Bakari, look, you know, the organization's growing, we're getting all these women. So make sure you got to be with me in every meeting I go into. So I'd never be in the room with a woman by myself, all right? Because one day, wife was telling me that some woman wrote on the video after I had finished teaching, you know, you make my ovaries sweat, you know, but I never saw it, but she saw it, and she was showing me all of these messages that different women would be writing in the comment section while I was teaching. And I was just like, wow, man, I wasn't aware of that, but it was a good thing that I wasn't aware of that, you know, because that can be a pit hole real quick. So like in another message that I had taught that, you know, God will provide us with everything we need, you know, so when he's given you a woman, she is every woman. She really is. So there's no need to look for something outside of what you've always been blessed with. And there seemed to be I don't know, pattern, but men in leadership normally tend to have an issue with not being in trouble when it comes around women. That issue follows them, you know, and understanding that, I definitely didn't want that for myself. So I definitely knew I got to get married. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about that. And so that's why I say he picked, because I had made my choice, and it was going to be the wrong choice. And, you know, one thing for sure, I am submissive to his will and went with his choice, which is the best choice. Definitely.
I would like to ask, if you don't mind, to give us a little backdrop to the love story. You talk about the movement and putting boots on the ground. And can you tell me a little bit about what the movement was? Which your organ? I would really like to hear that.
It's Black First, B1, the B1 initiative. So our main objective for that organization is to build a new reality for our people. So we went through the state of Mississippi and did tours to 10 different cities that, you know, we're going to decide to take over and run with a Black First mentality. So we're going to do everything. It's people say, well, you've had Black elected officials in these offices before and nothing has ever changed. The difference is that our political platform, our mentality, everything, it's Black first, period, point blank. It is Black first. And so with that understanding, then the curriculum, the school system, all of that changes. It all changes, and we do things in a way that's going to benefit our people. So that's what we're about. We're about real empowerment. We're about giving the people a new perspective. And that means, of course, a different way of education, a different way of being, to create an atmosphere so that they can really thrive. So one of our things is the first 100 days that we take over, a lot of these cities have land that's just sitting there. They're just sitting there. Well, if land is the basis of wealth, then we got all of these Black people in the city, then we're going to start breaking them off some of the land and teach them what they need to do with it. If you want to farm with it, you want to build with it, but it's yours to make sure that you can do what you got to do. So it's something that has never been done on this scale. But I believe that once we get all the kinks worked out of it on this first city that we're taking over, Coldwater, Mississippi, we get the kinks worked out of it when we move to the second city to do the same thing. Things will be a whole lot easier. That's why one of my main goals was to make sure that I get the educated class of our people to come and help. One of the problems that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had is that the educated class really didn't come. He did all his building with the quote unquote unlearned. But if he could have had the educated class to help in, we could have got a whole lot further. So this time with us doing it, not based on what your religional belief is, but based on your understanding of Black first and the love of our people, let's do this so that we can rise. That's the purpose. Then the things that we do coming out of that mindset will lift all of our boats. And, we're taking it one city at a time, one Black city at a time. So Coldwater has about 1,600 people. And we have about, I think, 300 white people there. So, we're going to do what we're going to do. And most white people, if they don't like it, they'll probably move and go somewhere else. If not, then they'll enjoy the ride. But it's a Black first ride, and we don't compromise that.
I'm going to ask another question until someone else steps up. How do you choose the cities that you are going to go to? And when you say take over, I know you talked about, the educational and, getting land and all that. But when you say take over, what does it mean that you're taking over the city?
Means first the criteria. We wanted the cities to be majority Black. We wanted to be not a city that's out there on everybody's headline. So we wanted to be able to work in the darkness of it. Nice size population that we can go, and that the people are not very active voting. Right. So then that means we can just come in, bring the people in that we're coming in, and convert the numbers that we have there. And then when we run for office and we win, we'll have a better chance of doing the things that we need to get accomplished. Taking power. That's what it's all about, right? Because you can own land, but if you ain't making the laws, you ain't got nothing. So we want to make the laws. We want to redo the laws. So that means we got to be in the mayor's office. We got to be city council. If the sheriff is elected, we got to be the sheriff. We got to do these things. So that's why our belief is not that we go and convert politicians. We grow our own. We grow our own, and we say, okay, you're ready, let's go. And that way we don't deal with people that are fly by night. We're dealing with people that's from the organization who already have a committed core and a committed understanding to what we're doing. So we're working all of this together. So like when we visited Yazoo, Mississippi, and their city council Black, their mayor Black, police Black, but they can't get nothing done. And the little bit of white people, they run the city through those Black people. So, that's not working for us. And when we were there talking with them, they said, yeah, Blacks are running it, but they're fighting each other to be the favorite over the white people. And so with us, you wouldn't have that infighting because we're all on the same tip with the same understanding and the same motive. So we all work it together. And that would make our takeover a whole lot easier. So when we did the tour and we went to a lot of these, we went to the 10 different cities, we spoke to the professional class, we spoke to the youth, we spoke to the teenagers, we spoke to the elders, we spoke, to the business owners as well. And everybody agreed with everything that we said. Reason why that they didn't do it themselves, I don't know. But a lot of them was like, start here first, start here first. We've even had cities to reach out to us and say, hey, come and bring that here. We need you to bring that here. And it's like, but you're already there. If you realize this is what you need, why aren't you doing it? So, I guess they are afraid to do it and want somebody else to do it first, and then they'll jump on. But everywhere we went, every Black person that we talked to, every Black person, and those cities, and a few cities, we talked to white folks. They liked the way things were. Blacks had that part of the city, and they had that other part of the city over there. So, and the living situation was like hell and heaven. And, it's like, why do y'all accept this? And the answer, well, it was always been like this. And, that's just unacceptable. So that, and it gives us that extra push, knowing that our people want this, knowing that this is what they need. And they see and understand, that this is what they want. And this is, as some of them said, if this don't work, we ain't got nothing else. So we're very confident that this is definitely going to work.
One of the things that's just kind of a truism, that you can have people who have all the knowledge in the world, know how to do it, but they don't have that courage, that commitment to self, to their people, to be able to do something substantial like that. The land is there, the people are there. Now the question becomes, who's going to organize them and call them together? When I look at the civil rights movement, and people, they like to hang their hat on Dr. King and say, well, King, King, King. Truth of the matter is the most important person of the civil rights movement is Ella Baker, because she's an organizer. And of all the things that we need more of, it's organizers. We need less. Black folk, we got oratorical, charismatic leaders out the wazoo, but where are the organizers? We're the ones who will lay the groundwork and are fine with the plan that's been developed being executed, pretty much without any fanfare whatsoever. How does your political stance and commitment to Black America, how does that impact what you were looking for in a mate?
Excellent question, Doc. She has to be able to match that. She may not be there, 100% where I am, but if she's in the position where she sees where I am and she wants to be there to match it. And that's one of the main things. You got to have that love, because I've been in relationships where, the woman that I was in the relationship with, did not have that same type of fire or that same drive. And at different times, we would begin to butt heads because, I'm a defender of my people. And if you attack what I love, now we about to go at it, because I'm gonna defend them. And so with her, with wife, we don't really have that issue. We don't have that issue. And when we do, I understand where she's coming from. She's coming from a perspective of my protection. She's coming from a perspective of my protection, because there's a lot of people out there that, want me to come on their program and build their program up because I'm on there teaching. And people gonna come. And so, people will use me, and she'll get upset. She'll get upset about it. I'm not gonna get upset about it, because my thing is the people is getting what they need. Um, so we deal with that. We had that going back a little bit, but I understand from the perspective that which she comes.
Okay, Sister Danielle has her virtual hand raised.
Yeah, I have a question. I apologize. I had to step away from the meeting for a bit, so you may have addressed or answered this question. But at the very beginning, you mentioned interview, application. I'm not familiar with, the courtship and marriage process in your faith. Could you explain that process more? Like, is it actually an application and you're a real vetting process? Like, I just want to hear more about that. And again, I apologize if you already talked about this.
No problem. No, we were talking about the application to join the initiative organization that she filled out. But in our Black First Citizen Guide that we're bringing to, these cities, there is a courtship process. And in that courtship process, you will have to fill out an application. And then, both parties will exchange the application, so they'll see, what it looks like on paper, because we believe in having strong Black families. And we believe that the courtship process is a key part of the success of strong Black families. So once they submit those applications, then it will be gone over with, and then different questions from the application will be thought of and then asked as well. But we don't want people to, get in relationships just because, this person looks good or this person sounds good. No, we want to be more than just that. So that courtship process with filling out the applications, and then on the sister side, there's an individual that will make sure that the sister is ready. On the brother side, there'll be an individual that makes sure the brother's ready. And then when the group meets, they'll have those conversations. If they want to go out on a date, there'll be a chaperone. If they want to have, telephone conversations, then again, there'll be a chaperone on the telephone. Understanding that most people may see this as an intrusion or invasion on privacy, but in reality, it's making sure that nobody loses their dignity in this process, because it's not a guarantee that it's going to go to where it's supposed to go to. So at least if everybody can keep their dignity squared away, and you ain't got to worry about, oh, I done slept with him and now this ain't working. No, we ain't doing all that. Let's be right from beginning to the end.
So if I may ask a follow-up question, that's very interesting. Who reads or evaluates the application, and what does that process looks like? So you get the application in. Is it a group of people? Is it one person? Like, who does that? And let's say on the application there's some areas of concern.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just don't go forward, or you tell the person like you need to shore up these areas or address these areas, and then we'll reconsider? Like, I'm just really curious about this. It's fascinating. Love to hear more about that.
Yes, ma'am. on that, Sister Carolyn, she'll be over the orientation. And so as they're coming in through orientation, she's going to be with them the whole process. So even after they get out of orientation and they find somebody that, hey, I want to speak with this person, or, see about this person if they're eligible, and they will fill out the application and give it to Sister Carolyn. Then Sister Carolyn will take and go to the brother on the brother side to make sure that the brother is available. If he's available, he'll fill out an application as well. Um, and then that starts the process. Now, because in courtship, we are actually, like in court. So it's not just because you put on the paper that you got A, B, C, and D. You got to prove you got A, B, C, and D. You can't prove you got A, B, C, and D, then that's falsehood, and it doesn't go there. So all the people know that whatever you put down on this paper has to be verified 100%. It's not something that we're gonna just take your word for. It doesn't work like that. It's up front, showing all your cards, take the mask off, let us see who you really are. So that individual, y'all can see who you actually dealing with, so you'll know whether or not you're ready for that next step. Because we know that, with every divorce, then that's a part of destroying our community. So we want long marriages, and the only way you're going to have long marriages, if you got to start off honest and open, showing who you really are. So even, if your credit ain't this good, or you're not this learned, or you don't do this, you don't, be honest, and then let everybody make honest decisions. Because some may, well, I just can't deal with that, or some may, well, that may not even be my issue, and that way we can move forward in truth and in honesty, and then both parties will receive justice.
Okay, I'm sorry, can I ask another follow-up?
Mm-hmm.
The chaperones, what is their responsibility once you're married? Do they become a support system, when you're married? Like, what happens when you're married?
Yes, they become your support system, because sometimes people, I mean, even we do, we'll get into a disagreement, and she'll be firm on her side and I'll be firm on my side. You need a third party to come in that's unbiased, that will just listen to the information and then say, okay, this is what I see and this is what I see. That way, both parties will receive justice, even if one party may not, get what they want, but they know it's from an unbiased source and there's justice in it. So, people can accept those things a whole lot better. Not having support systems is something that hurts us, in Black communities. So we got to make sure that we have those support systems and have them ready to be willing to get in there and do the work that need to be done. Because just because you said I do, that don't mean you married. You starting the process to be married. So you need that support system there with you the whole way through. The whole way through. And then you'll learn how to ride it without the training wheels. And you'll be good to go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So, in the event that, let's say, you see a sister, okay, and whatever that inner voice is, whatever that inner yearning is, you know that that's the right one for you.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you sold on you convinced yourself of that, and you go ahead and make your inquiry, and the word comes back, no, she's not available, or that's not the right one for you, you're not a good fit. Okay, do you have a repetition? Do you have, how does that work? Do you just accept that word, especially when, you know yeah, do you just accept that word?
Most definitely. I mean, because if she says no, I'm not interested, then It
No,
ain't gonna go nowhere.
I'm asking, maybe it's not her.
Okay.
Maybe it's the people who are evaluating her.
hmm
You get what I'm
If they right, and so if they say that she's not ready,
saying?
right, then if they're saying that she's not ready, they know more about whatever the sister's issues are than the brother does. So if they're saying she's not ready, then she's really not ready. She's not ready. And that's why we have to trust the process. We have to trust the system that we're creating, that, that decision is made basically on the evidence that we have that says that she's not ready. Because some people can think, yeah, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. But the reality is, no, you're not ready. You're not ready. You need more time. You need to continue to working on A, B, C, and D. Right? Because I can look at myself and I'll say this, but for me, um, being a man in the Nation of Islam, when I first asked the sister, to go into courtship, and they didn't even take it to her. They told me she ain't ready. I didn't know whether she was ready or not. From me looking at her, I think she ready. But the reality was she really wasn't. And I'm glad I listened. I'm glad I listened because she was out wilding. But on Sundays and Monday and Wednesday, coming to the mosque with her MGT stuff on. So if I didn't listen and would have went outside of that and did what I wanted to do, then I'd have came up on the wrong side. So they have to trust the system. They have to trust the system.
Sister
Yes.
Danielle has her hand up once again.
I'm sorry, I'm loving this. Um, okay, being ready. Do, do everyone know what the standards are from the very beginning before they even interested, in courtship and marriage? Is that something that's standard, will be standard for everybody? Like, is there a list for men and women? Here are the criteria for what's required to be in the courtship phase and marriage phase.
Yes, ma'am. Our Black First Citizen Guide, we have all of that listed. I mean, we even, have we had a checklist, and we have um, the man, the boyhood, from boyhood to manhood progression sheet, and it says at this age, this is what the expectation. This age, this is what the expectation. This age, this is what the expectation. So all of that is in there. And for those, so when we come to the city, we already know this, but the orientation for the regular everyday, Black person in the city that's got to get acclimated to this, they're going to learn all of this in the orientation class. So, this is a real, I guess, experiment, because you're bringing this information and this way of life to a people who didn't come knocking on your door asking for it. They didn't come knocking on our door asking for it, but we're bringing this new way of life into them, and really have to sell it to them and let them see this is the advantages. So they're used to running wild in society, doing whatever they want. But if they look at the results don't the results don't equal success. So we want to come in with this new way of life, this new way of living, and we are looking that if we apply these principles, then this is the success that we're going to have to get. So it's going to take it's not going to be easy, because I'm quite sure some people are going to be like, I don't want to do this, that, but this is the new day. This is the new way. Um, and I believe we're going to be, I know we're going to be successful. We're going to be successful.
Indeed. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Danny.
Also, like Danielle, I've wondered and I've wanted to know so much. in my time in this group. So I'm really delighted to hear more. But in the courtship process, everything that you said so far has been uh, things that are initiated by someone who has an interest in someone else.
Mhm.
Um, do you guys, is there any sort of um, matchmaking? Is there any time where you say, this person is a good fit for that person, or is it simply something that is initiated by the people interested? And I'll ask another question if it's okay right now. When the determination is made, well, sister X, Y, and Z is not ready, then what is the protocol? Do you say, okay, brother, she's not ready, find someone else more suitable? Do you say she's not ready, we're working on these things, come back in 6 months? What do you do there?
Yes, so that I go with the last question first. If she or he is not ready, then the other person will know, okay, they're not ready. And if they can say, check back in 6 months or 3 months, to give them, give that other person some view where they know, okay, well, there's a time that they will be ready. So, maybe they want to wait, maybe they don't want to wait. That's their option. And as far as matchmaking, it's not something that we do, but I know like our head of our military, he's single. So, if I see a single sister, I may drop something in his ear, and say, there's a single sister out here that I think you may do well with, and he'll say, well, who is she? Or, all right, let's start, so that's out there available. If people see somebody and say, well, I think, they can always start that process, make that introduction.
And a follow up, if I can. When someone identifies, so brother X identifies that he's interested in sister A,
Mm-hmm.
does sister A even know? If the determination is she's not ready, is she told there is someone who is interested in pursuing a courtship with you? These are the things that we see are deficiencies, and this is our plan to help you get ready for that. Or is she in the dark or he in the dark about someone else's desire for them?
No, ma'am. We be forthright and honest. We don't tell them who that person is, but we do say, this, there is an individual who's interested in you. This is what we see needs to work out. And this is the timeline. Do you think that we can get this stuff squared away on this timeline? And if the person says yes, no, maybe so, then we take it from there and then move forward with it. But we give them that information so that they will know. Sometimes, somebody interested. Oh, okay, well, let me go ahead and move a whole lot faster than I normally would. So definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys said it. The wife said we will have classes to help the individual, and we'll do that. Giving the people the information that they're going to need to want to help motivate them. Because some of our people think like, well, ain't nobody interested in me. And that could be far from the case. But because they think that, then they're not going to have things the way it should be because they think, oh, I'm going to be by myself. Period. So we like give them the information so that they can see that could be a better motivating factor. Okay, come on, let's get it on and get it done. Because somebody's waiting on you.
Also, to add to that, we we look to the for me, I look to the female elders a lot. And for counsel, be it good, bad, and different. So we will always have that available to the females if they want, to go and talk and learn. It can be an official class per se, or just a mentorship. So we'll have things in place to help develop that person. Like me, even me. I mean, I'm still learning. I head female elder. I'm always talking to Sister Carolyn about whatever, listening to her, talking to her. Just she's a rock for me. I lost my mom. It'll be a year on the 30th of this month. So that, so now I do have Sister Carol, and I have other females, older elders that I go and talk to. So we'll make sure that we have classes available, and then just try to encourage, because to me that's wisdom, pearls of wisdom from older women who have done that, experienced that, been there, and just to pass that up. And that also goes along with race. To me, it takes a village to raise, even, even it takes a village to raise a child, but we're still learning. For me, I'm still learning, I'm still being raised, because they are older, they are in a position of respect. So that's the way I look at that also.
And, another good thing about our organization is that, you know, um, well, we're the only Muslims in it. We're the only Muslims. So, Sister Carolyn, she's a Christian, but she's an elder. So we're not set up on religion. We're set up on Black, Black first. And so, and I think that helps us a whole lot too, because, most people are looking like, oh, just because it's religion. No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that whatsoever,
Sister Danielle, jump on in.
I absolutely love the structure and the idea of this. I'm wondering, want to know, will the classes and the mentorship be available to children, teenagers? I guess, how young are you starting? Because it's very problematic to accomplish healthy families and relationships starting at adulthood, so will you guys, teach teenagers at least, what are the criteria and characteristics, you should look for, and, what's considered healthy and unhealthy, things like that?
Yes, that's actually what my doctoral thesis is resilience in young Black girls, and from starting ages 6 to 12. So that's really where my thought process is, coming from a place called East St. Louis, Illinois, and it's very destitute. And I look back and I wonder, well, why did I make it out? And all of us had the same opportunities, and that was part of my dissertation. So I'm taking that information that I learned, all that research that I learned, and I put it into develop a program for young girls, because we have to get them young. Even when you get them in middle school, to me, it's still too late. We have to get them young, because this world today, our granddaughter, she's 3 days old, and people have said, well, she's coming to this world looking like she knows something. Well, they have to know. In this world today, they have to know stuff young, so that's our focus. I know that we will have a platform to train up a child, and that's going to be the basis, to train these young girls into young women, and to, first and foremost, to build their self-esteem, to build their self-efficacy, to know who they are and whose they are first and foremost, and have what I didn't have growing up. My mom was a single mother. I didn't have a father. To be honest, I met my father at, unfortunately, I remember seeing him for the first time at his funeral. And even now, I still deal with that, deal with not knowing him, not even knowing my father's people. And it makes a difference. People think that, if you have your mom as a young girl, you have your mom, you're okay. No, you need your father too. So, all of that right there is going to be part of that platform for our young Black girls. And I'm really, even my granddaughter, she's 3 days old, and I'm just speaking into her life now. I'm talking to her, because it starts young. Even when she was in utero, I was speaking to her. I was letting her know who she is and who she is. And I helped deliver her on Monday. And it's just so funny. She responds to me more than she responds to her mom, So yeah, we will have that for the young girls, and I'm sure a husband will have something for the young boys, our young men also.
I think the important thing is to start, of course, young. Start them in when they're prepared for what is that before kindergarten? Preschool. That's where we get them. Snatch them up right there in preschool and start breaking down the new way of life, the whole new educational system. And then in our system, each progression, it gets more and more and more and more. So when you start them that young, by the time that they reach teenage years, they're thinking totally different way of thinking, totally different way of being. Um, so that's something that's very important, very important.
It's to me, I don't even think it'd be a thought. It's just who they are. It's not even that they're thinking one way or the other. It's just who they are. It's innate to them. It's just in their DNA, and that's what we want to do. We want to get them so early where they don't have any other thought. But this is who I am, who I'm supposed to be, and this is the trajectory I'm going to stay on, and I'm going to follow. That's our what we're.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
So my question would be, are you talking about, okay, how are you going to implement this? I understand taking over things as far as electorally, electing your own officials and what have you. Are you talking about integrating it from a religious standpoint? Will this be those who want to can come and participate in the programs? Will it be mandated? What is the idea surrounding that?
Yes, it will be mandated. It's not a religious thing, but it will be mandated that you have to attend these classes. You have to send your children to the preschool, and because when you're in the school board, you're on the school board, you're making laws. You can change it and say, well, we're going to do A, B, C, and D. And so these are the things that we're going to add to the education to make our people to be what they're supposed to be. And then for parents that's already been through the schooling, they will have that orientation class so that they'll understand what it is that their children are learning. The good thing about starting with a population that we're starting with 1,600 is very small. It's very small. So our problems that we're going to run into, we'll already know once we run into it and figure out, okay, what's the best way to get this done? What's the best way? So then the next city that we take over, which population will be a little bit bigger, we'll already know, okay, because we learned it from this way, we know how to do it better here. So it'll be more smooth. I think once we convince the common everyday Black person that, look, this is it. This is our way of success, period, point blank. You already know what you got now, and that ain't working for you. So let's get on this, jump on board, let's ride this, and let's make it happen. That's one of our main key selling points. Is what Donald Trump say, vote for me. What you got to lose? So we're telling, hey, look, we're Black first. We're all about this. If you want a better outcome than what you can envision for your child right now, get on board and stick with it. And then you got support that, when it gets difficult, don't worry, we got your back. We got you. We ain't gonna let you fall. Because if you fall, we all fall. So we're gonna make it together. And so them understanding that unity, they understanding I'm not by myself. I got a team that's gonna support me to make this better. Then they're gonna get onto it. They got to understand their own self-interest and wanting something better than what they receive currently.
So in many ways, you're talking about the idea of changing school curriculums, and in many ways manufacturing consent.
Exactly. Exactly. hmm And that's why when we did those programs on manufacturing consent, I asked you those questions about how do you do it? What is the process? Right. And that's exactly what we're going to go out and make happen. That's exactly what we're going to go out and make happen. hmm
How do you determine, or how are you determining when it is time to take on the next city? Do you already know when that will be? Do you have a timeline in place already, or is it as things develop in Mississippi, do you then make plans to move forward?
Yeah, it's a little combination of both. A little combination of both. We want to make sure that we got the first one up and running, and everything is going, pretty decent enough that we can point to and say, this is our success at this model. So we know that this worked. We ain't bringing you what we believe. We're bringing you actual facts. So once we have that and it's solid, then yeah, we'll go definitely to our next city, to there, and showing them, look, this is the fruits of our labor. Mhm.
And the idea with that, Sister Danny, what to actually, as we say, we grow our leaders, that someone
Mhm.
from Coldwater would be the
Going
would
to next
take over
program.
the next city. So
Mhm.
while we're going through this process, we're mentoring someone, the next new mayor for the next city, the next new city manager for the next city. So all that right there is going to come in-house. It's going to be from in-house and just transplant right to that new city. So they already know the model. They already know what is what, and they just go and plant them in. They'll grow.
Mhm.
That's the concept.
Mhm. Definitely.
Thank you. I think about what's one of the things that's so powerful about this, in my opinion, is remember, I think it was in Georgia, this family, I don't know if it was just a family or a group of people who went on social
Mhm.
media and TV announced that they had bought,
Mhm.
all this land. I really love what you said, that not necessarily you moving in silence, but you're making moves for yourself, by yourself.
Mhm.
And given that the intention is to identify places where we're going to take over and it's going to be a Black first movement, there will be no need, or less of a need for people to say, this is Mecca and we all have to go to Coldwater, Mississippi. It's a movement that builds. And I think that that's,
Exactly.
that's incredible and promising and so exciting.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And I think the I'll go ahead and say this because I wasn't saying that before, but there will be a presidential run because we going to the White House. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Mm.
We're definitely going to do it. Um, and I think that well, I know we're going to be successful, even because we're flying our own flag. So Black First will be its own political party. And some people that I talked about say, well, how in the world are you going to go to Iowa and get Iowa people that you call cracker? How you going to get them to vote for you? And I said, well, that's a real question. But what we got to look at is once you explain what Black first is, and it's always been white first in America. It's always been white first. Now we're going to be Black first. Now we know that if it's good for Black people, it's good for everybody. It's good for everybody. So their numbers are dwindling. They're dwindling big time. So it's coming one way or another, one way or another. So I think that um, we'll be able to do it. We'll be able to do it. We got success that we can show.
I'm going to ask again, if I could. Where did the courage and the idea to create Black first, and to really begin to mobilize it and build it. Where did that come from?
God.
Mhm.
Well, it's divine. It's a divine. Um, it's just divine. You know, we get that from the God, and then from there, it's I believe like in Jeremiah, you know, He has a plan for us to prosper us. So it was implanted. It's in you. It's just in you. And then like when you asked me about when I heard the word husband, you know, and then it's a matter of believing in that, walking in faith, activating, and no matter what it looked like, we just keep pushing. No matter what happens, we keep pushing, you know, because the trials and tribulations are gonna come. But that's the only way I can answer that. It's a divine thing. That's destiny. I believe it's destiny.
And to add to that, because it is destiny. One day I had joined the Nation of Islam, and I was working out in America. And honestly, I got so comfortable, you know, I forgot the reason why I joined the Nation of Islam. And so I was working for this community organization as a community organizer, actually Acorn, the same one Barack Obama was with. And they sent me all places, Philadelphia, to train, you know, where I was born. And so I'm like, oh, I got me a whole year of vacation, you know, to go train to be a community organizer back home. And when I started, and they took me to places in Philly that I had never seen, and I saw the poverty our people was living in, and I was like, what in the world? You know, how could we accept that? And we were knocking on doors, getting people to sign up, but you know, you had to pay money to be a member. So you could either had to give up $30, you had to write a check, or give your bank card information. And Black people was giving it. So when I sat there and I'm looking and I'm, you know, talking to the people, giving them the script that they gave me to say, and our people was doling over this money or giving their bank account information, and you don't know me. I don't have no Acorn ID. I don't have nothing. But it underscored to me the condition that they in, and they hear you knocking on their door and telling them this way, we're going to get you out of it. And being an organizer, at the end of the day, you really know this ain't gonna get you nowhere, you know. But their need was so bad. But a stranger knock over their door, they giving me their bank information, they're giving me their money, you know, and that meant something. And it opened me my eyes back open to, hey, you joined the Nation of Islam so you can get knowledge to save your people, you know. So I had to get that reawakening message to what I'm supposed to be doing. And once I got that, I was never the same over again. Now I understood mission, and I understood what my role had to be. So learning to be an organizer, and how to move people and organize them to do this, that, and the other, was all, you know, background training for me to be able to do what I'm doing now. You know, without that organizing training, we wouldn't be where we at now without that. So I was very grateful for that. But that was along the process that the God had to bring me. Mhm.
If I could, and I correct me if I'm wrong, because I definitely don't want to speak out of turn. When you were talking about your YouTube show or your radio show, I'm sorry, I don't remember which one, but you said that there were times when you would be ministering or teaching to 1,000 women.
Mhm.
My question is there a need to motivate and organize men, more men? And if so, how is that done? Because when I think about, not to say they're the same things, when I think about, you look at so many churches, and the
Mhm.
church is filled with women. Well, we need men
Mhm.
to create these strong communities. So
Mhm.
do you see that there's a need for that? And if so, how is that addressed?
Oh, most definitely, it is a need, because when we first started out, and I'm looking at our roles and stuff, it was full with women names and, you know, very few men. I thought that we would have more men and less women, but it was the opposite. So we definitely see that. And what I've learned over time is men need to see the strength. You know, they need to see the strength. They need to see that, okay, yeah, they got it together. Then they feel more comfortable to come out and say, yeah, I'm gonna stand with you because I'm not standing by myself. We got a whole army that we stand together, you know, and seeing that and they understanding that, then they're more able to come. Women don't need to see that. They just need to hear the word. They hear the word, then they coming. But the brothers, they need to see that there's other brothers there that will have their back, and then they'll come. They'll come. So, you know, our event that we had in Coldwater, there was a lot of brothers. When we sit back and I send out the different pictures of the brothers of all of us in uniform and other brothers seeing that, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm coming, because now they see the strength and it's not, well, you just out there by yourself, you know. No, they see that it's more than just that. Mhm.
We are at the top of the hour, my brother. And as always, we allow those who have to exit. It's almost 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock Central. And we will close out, but those who wish to stay and to continue the conversation can go ahead and continue the conversation. So, you see, Brother Muhammad is moving around. Are you up to doing it, or do we need to call on you know, your understudy?
No, Doc, we gotta go. Wife got to deal things with the baby. I gotta deal with these dogs out there in the garage that's having a fit.
Okay, well, we're gonna pass it off to Carlton for him to go ahead and close us out. Then go ahead, brother.
Yes.
Thank you, fam, for joining us tonight. Peace and blessings to you guys. Have a great week. And as we always say, you kill the nigga and you, I'm going to kill the nigga and me. And our God will reign supreme. We are Black Earth. Today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and assalamu alaikum.
Please, thank you for your time, brother.
Yes, sir.
Wife
Thank
Muhammad.
y'all.
Thank you both. All righty.